Hello, beautiful creeps. I hope everyone's week is going good. Mine's going tolerably. My god, did I have a silly day today. But we will be fixing that, won't we? This cider's a little bad, but that's okay, because we have more drinks to move on to. I do understand why it was left. Lemongrass Rosé. A fuck with lemon. I don't know that the rosé part is doing any favors to cider, but who am I to judge? Oh right, I'm the judgmental bitch. That's right. Today, I was driving my big vehicle to see several men about several dogs or whatever it is I do. And cider indeed. I stopped by one of my stops and I was gonna pick up some people, but I was just like a little off of where the paper told me I should be. So I honked the horn a little bit. And I'm just like, this is good. This is me being a good Samaritan. That I've been helpful. Hopefully they hear that. If not, you know, I move on knowing that I tried. I look a little bit to my right and I see in front of the building that I'm trying to pick up in front of, Saint So-and-so's Home for the Deaf. So I honked a couple more times and left. Ryder, I don't know why that didn't work, but there is a free bug throw for you. I did it myself. Hi, Ryder. The second I can go live again, I'm buying a bottle of Rumplemans. I don't know what the fuck that is. So anyway, that was my morning. I think another silly dumb thing happened. For free! I'm trying to think. I had another thing that I was like, ooh, this will be a fun story to tell the creeps. And then I lost it. But I was very excited about the honking at deaf people bit. That was fun. But in all cases, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be able to play a little Skyrim. I'm not gonna lie, I've been enjoying the shit out of it. Imagine in your mind's eye a bottle of peppermint schnapps, but it also thin paint? Why would I want that? Captain, why would I want that? Just a little bit of God takes life with. Who would want to be such a control freak? I don't know why you would want it. It's for me. Why? Sorry, let me rephrase. Why do you want that? Why you could be drinking something that also gets you drunk but doesn't, you know, remove your internal paint? I worked so hard putting it there. It makes me feel alive. Alright. Alice. Fuck. I try. You drink a little paint thinner and come on over. I can promise you a fuck. I meant for that to be more subtle. Sorry, can we take that from the top? Screw me. Shit. Pat Alice is a lucky woman. I know. Get dissolved. I'm so mad that I can't think of the other silly story. I did scare a child. I walked to the back of the bus and I was like, I dropped off my last kid, everything is good, and then there was a child there and I went, ah! And he was sleeping, so he woke up and like looked at me all scared. I'm like, what are you doing here? He's just like trying to go home? Fuck. Subtly left our friendship the first time you drunk text me? What? Subtlety left our... Hey, I didn't successfully drunk text you. I texted your entire fucking server because I saw your name and thought it was our DMs. Fuck, I don't even remember what I texted. Passive aggressive and active aggressive flirting. Ugh, and I love active aggressive flirting. And I really, really do. We've stumbled upon my favorite. I would moth a song wreck because of reasons beyond my comprehension. Va Va Boom by Bang Ups. Writer, if this doesn't slap. Nothing's gonna happen, but I've let a threat hang in the air. Talking in circles back then. Nicki Minaj? Bang Ups. I'm trying to bang you up and down. And not in the... whatever. I'm queuing it up. From an album called Candy Cigarettes. Hell yes. If it's bad, then I have a backup. Why don't you just... Here. Counter proposal. You give me your backup anyway, and I queue that up as well. Thoughts? Right, I think you just like it when I try and blow you through the internet for your excellent music taste. I don't think that owing thing is real. But happy to supply. And this does kind of slap. Ooh, and it's a little weird. Writer's got my fucking taste. And it's writer's taste. No, actually, that's the second, possibly third time you text me while trashed. Shit. Really? What did I do the first time? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's probably fine. I probably didn't do anything embarrassing, right? Oh god, I probably professed my love. I have a tendency of doing that. I know what's wrong with it. It ain't supposed to be like that. No, not at all. Oh, excellent. What do I search to find drunk text? I could just search drunk. Nope. Oh, are you drunk? That's a good one. Oh no, that was when Cat was attacking me. Never mind. Yep, it'll never be found, and it never happened. Because I don't see it, I can't find it, I can't... Silly and slash or Billy. And we do need to be single to focus on ourselves. Sorry, I opened Discord and now I'm in our meme channel. Letter in a Suitcase by Ann Arbor is the backup. Hell yeah. Ooh, I didn't see Helta's earnest recommendation. I will be checking that shit out after. Okay, let me search up the thing. Letter in a suit. My Eddie just kicked in? God! Do I pivot to other things? I'm always too excited when Druid's getting high. Damn, I do fuck with this. Alright. Writer's done it again, and I'm gonna blow him again if, you know, we find the time. We're both such busy people. I want to try and find an example and found the 13th reason text. That was a good one. Sorry, now I'm just scrolling through me and Captain's messages and laughing. Judas, what are you doing, dude? Stop it! Fucking. I love the creep so much. We need the Yelp as a channel redeem? I know. I've been avoiding it. You suggested it once and I think it'd be really funny. Yeah, that should cost people money. Oh my god, hornet porn. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother. Wait, Captain, I just realized. I just realized I haven't shown anybody my new ref sheet stuff. I could. It's available to me. Yeah, don't let people make you scream for free, girl. Well, not just anybody can do that. How fast could I set it up? How fastly could I set it up? I miss having edibles. If I do fun things with Druid, I'd have to like set it up, find a fire implement. That meme I made you when you showed the teaser ass, and the teaser ass is really, really good. What the fuck? I don't know if I fuck with this really heavy or like not at all, but I've liked it. Just trying to get my legs out of the way so you can see that I like the song. Yeah. Now back to my lame ass music. Machine without a switch. I've done my best to go without it. Think the drunk conversation I'm thinking of was a voice message? Oh, that's even worse. I turbo drunk texted Ray the one karaoke night. I drunk texted a lot of people that night. But I was like, Ray, I sang songs. She was like, where's the evidence? And then I destroyed the evidence. I was like, nowhere. Doesn't exist. Never existed. I don't remember what was said, so maybe don't play it. Oh yeah. No. Let's not talk about me blowing you it for free. That time I called you the F-slur 15 times in a row. Think about drunk Ray hopping into New Year's Eve stream every other day. That was fun. That was funny. I feel so awkward making people jump into calls with me that I feel like I always immediately go like, okay, go away now. Which is not my intention, but like, is a little funny in hindsight. I think about the one line, I forget if it was that time Ray jumped in or another time, but just like, anytime I could not help you with something, let me know. That shit cracks me up. No, that was just me. I was trying to set up the VV redeem, or not redeem, like command. That shit was so fucking funny. Hey, anytime, any other time I can be completely useless to you, you let me know. A little keyboard ASMR. Now the impulse is back? What impulse? The best way to end impromptu stream calls, dismissing them awkwardly, is always the way to go. Yeah. I think Druid just started masturbating in chat. I'm not sure if that's TOS. VV impulse. Oh no! I gotta let, hold on. I gotta let Druid cool off. Hold on. Guys, something terrible was gonna happen if I didn't do that. Something fucking terrible was gonna happen if I didn't do that. That didn't work. How the fuck do I unban people? Oh. Well, she'll be back in a minute anyway. Fuck it. Druid, check your Discord. I'll stroke your keys too mechanically. I think she's already back. Oh, okay. I was singing this song today. I'm on the rob, stealing from my job. If you make minimum wage, steal from your job to compensate. I'm on the rob. Who's stroking and why am I left out? Well, stroking is far too gentle for the things I plan to do to you, my fine bearded friend. It's the longest trip I've ever taken to the pit. So sticky. Don't worry, I made it stickier. That's my fucking Druid. Druid hates me, though. Pretty sure Druid hates me. No, she's responding. Be ready! Be ready! And tell no one. Be ready and tell no one. I do not! I do not! That's how you sound. Why am I mocking you? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna go into my closet, and I'm gonna come back still saying that I'm gay, so don't get nervous. Don't get worried. Everything's fine. I need to check if Eden is streaming. Moth's coming out as ultra gay. You fucking know it. Holy shit, I can't find Eden. Is Eden not streaming? Damn. She fucking hates me. I was gonna set up the TV for you guys. Excuse me. Congrats. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'd like to thank the Academy for making me gayer. I'd like to thank my mother for making me gayer. Guys, who would be totally chill with me completely stealing their content? I bet Hoya would be chill, right? No. No, the joy of Eden was that she was on a little TV. Rob her? What, just like open a VOD? That would be really fucking funny. Guys, I can't... Guys, I can't spell. How many X's are in Eden's fucking name? 4, motherfucker. I think you're lying to me. This looks absurd. Don't listen to me, I'm lying. Motherfucker, I knew it! And much less to be okay. Oh, it's a 3, not an X. Oh, the X's are later. Oh. And I will oversee the pulpit and the fire and the all together. Wow! Scatter me! Scatter me! I love annoying ass music. I love annoying ass music so much. Oh, it's NNX, not NXX. This is an exhausting amount of work. He's not even gonna know I did this. This is totally absurd. No, no. The joy is to kidnap someone who's currently streaming. Don't worry. We'll get there. Okay, hold on. Oh yeah, I forgot it's all backwards. Hold on. This is even worse. There we are. I'll be right back. You were somewhere? Okay. And everything is fine. Whatever banging and clanging you heard in the background, don't worry about it. I should probably warn Jelly that I stole her likeness. No, she has so many people going on in her stream right now. I'm not gonna bother her with my shenanigans. A moment of sobriety. I'm just gonna say that I love her. Okay. Perfect. Now that that's covered legally, because it's legally binding if she doesn't smite me upon seeing that message that this is all fine and permissible and good and based and fair even. Sobriety in this society? Well, that's what we're gonna try and fix, Druid. That's what we're here to fucking settle. Hey! Quit that. Sorry, yelling at Jelly. So, Captain went to make a sandwich, which means it's just you, me, and anyone else who happens to tune into this totally public internet spectacle. How you doing? Also, while I'm stealing her likeness, y'all should make sure you definitely check out the lovely Jelly. They're really good at video games and really funny, and a bastard. An absolute bastard. Huge fan. She's so great. Sorry, let me just, there. So, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the shit that I would normally like to use, because I'm bougie, and by bougie I mean a lover of niche little tools, I don't have available to me. So, this is, God, that smells fucking loud. Purest of evils on the golf course. I believe it. I fucking believe that. God. This is from Small Grey Cat's friend. Whatever she's cooking in there. Fucking hell. Alright. Sorry, I'm just doing this with my hands. So. I'm trying to think what else is going on. Not a whole lot. I don't know. I'm glad to finally have a moment with y'all, cause the week was a lot, but we persevered. We fucking made it. I had to ask people for a cover letter, and then they asked details about that cover letter, and then I realized I have no idea what the fuck a cover letter is or what it entails. So that was embarrassing, but, you know. Another thing that we will inevitably rally through. This feels like a long week, and I still work tomorrow? Tell him you died. Do you want me to call in a threat? An explosive kind of threat? Yeah, I had a bunch of people fight on my vehicle yesterday, and they ignored me while I was trying to get them to stop, which is just like, I don't know, you suddenly realize how very little power you actually wield in that situation. It's just like, what the fuck do? I don't know. Nothing? Die? Slap the shit out of a child? Call in dead. That's what I'm saying. But whatever. We survived. We survived the fucking week. And ideally, I will be able to get to a different job soon. It's funny, I was calling someone who has like some connections to schools, and they were like, damn, I would help if I could, but I don't know anybody there. It's like, fuck, I wanted nepotism to win this time. This time for me. How the fuck am I supposed to do this in a way that is cleaner than the way I'm currently doing it? Had a coworker unload a lot of her personal drama out on me out of nowhere, and I was just deer in headlights the whole time? Yeah, Jesus Christ. It's like, wow, that sure sounds like a whole lot of not my business. And now I know it. Oh gee. Oh yippee. Was it like, I don't know, does it affect you? I did ask. Well, that does happen. Oh, are you like their friend? And it was just like, oh god, wow, this is way more than I bargained for when I asked, how are you? Because that's happened. I've been on both sides of that. Leaving 15 missed calls. I was kind of worried that. Okay. Yeah, I like her well enough, sure, but it was a whole can of worms. Ooh. The curiosity is killing me, but curiosity is kind of what got you into this mess, so I'm gonna go ahead and temper mine. Grab my infinite history of self-neglect. Can read a single line, why? 'Cause I live for the feeling, love being needed. And me and another coworker were like, you gotta stop posting what you post on social media. It's not gonna end well for you. Yeah. People be forgetting that that shit is just concerningly public. Just like so public. I don't know. I feel like maybe I would be more empathetic to the situation if I was able to participate in social media when I was younger. I would understand. But like for now, I'm just like, damn, what the fuck are you doing? Stop shouting shit. You know? It's a forever loudspeaker. It's a loudspeaker that just keeps louding it. Being needed. Okay. This is basically full, and I'm lazy and my fingers are sticky. Here's the thing I forgot though, an implement of fire. And I will need that. I hear. Unless my laser vision has suddenly fucking happened. It does help, doesn't it just? Terry. Druid, do you think it's called sand? Okay, I'm gonna find an implement of fire and a shirt that is not a sweater because I'm kind of sweating. Sweater, I hardly gets fucking killed. Ooh, don't even beg. Don't even. I fed your ass. You'll die this day, cat. You'll die. I swore I had a fire implement in this room. But I guess I don't. Or, more likely, someone, oh, cat, stole it from me for nefarious purposes of her own. Blah. Okay. Hold on. My shirt didn't fit, and I didn't find fire. I failed on every count. I succeeded too well. I succeeded too well. See, my father, when he moved out of here, left a bunch of his tools because he did not need them. And I stole some because, you know, they were useful, and I stole some because they were silly. Druid, where did the subtlety go? Anyway, one of those things was a blowtorch. But it's shaped like a candle lighter. But it burns like a blowtorch. So, I have that. I will need one more thing. I will need water. So, see, what's that taste like? Probably like edging, but with more social tact and less cum. But who am I to know? I'm also bad at subtlety. Okay, now I have everything I could ever want in life. And I'm gonna stop getting up so we can say goodbye to my mortal enemy. Bye, mortal enemy. Bye, love you. Did that bug thrower work? I don't know, but there's one. That sounds awful? Damn. I can't make things sound tasty. What am I even doing in this world? Oh, I guess that was the end of the stream list, the playlist. Here's a different one. And it starts with a song that you like. I know this. Dear God! Can I ban that channel so I never have to see that image again? Jesus! Oh my god, that's a cosplay of the Deer Lady! Mentally preparing myself. Damn. They seem kind of funny. Okay, I'll follow her. Please don't, they're really cool. Yeah, I figured. If they have your support, I know they're fucking cool. Ooh, also I saw Slay the Spire 2 came out. I was watching Helta play it a little bit. It looks so cool, and I didn't know it was gonna have a multiplayer. That actually seems so fucking awesome. It seems really well designed, the multiplayer. I'm not gonna lie. Granted, I met them literally yesterday. And those are our favorite kinds of meetings. Well, now that I follow them on Twitch, I'm bonded to them for life, so I hope they're good. Has anyone else had the fun internet experience of following someone who you think is really cool, and then they turn out to be fucking evil? Not even like the famous kind of evil. Like, just... like... I still have bad vibes and feelings about that sort of thing. Sorry, let me just fix up my magic box for you, get it all looking pretty. Online and IRL? Woof. I haven't had the IRL one so much in Discovery, but I have had it, like, friends in, like, high school, which you're just friends with everyone in proximity who's willing to put up with you. Or at least that was my experience. Turn out to grow up to be shitheads, like absolute shitheads. Though I suppose I had a college friend who ended up being a shithead. So yeah. But he didn't go to like jail or nothing. He wasn't doing really immoral shit, which is more the thing I'm thinking of. I'm scared who's licking those feet. Big old cakes. Well. Who am I to say no? I'll tell you a story about it in private later. It was a plot twist. I would love your private plot twist. Sorry, I'm still trying to set up Skyrim. There we are. Okay, sorry. I'm pausing the music. Let's play video games. Yippee, yippee, yippee. Ooh, wait. I should make sure the audio is doing the thingy. There we are. Let me know if you still can't hear it, though, and I will endeavor to fix it. I actually don't think I do know anyone from high school who turned out to be a shitty person or become a shitty person later. Granted, I barely had any friends, so you know, that might be why. That does help, I hear. God, that's a good bald emote. Fuck. That's beautiful. No, I had one who, like, flirted with folks he shouldn't. He was always kind of a shithead, though. I was just willing to put up with it, because, fucking rough days. Rough fucking days. We haven't had in 2 minutes, by the way. So watch out for that. Well, character selection. Wait, can I have different characters in? Oh, no, I understand. Okay. There are two things we are trying to do with Muth right now. We are trying to continue the Companion's questline in a way that makes use of the first magical item we found, and continues the sort of similar to me theme of the character, and we're trying to build a house. In the middle of the woods. Just so we have a place to store all our shit. But we stopped the game inside our half-built house. Whoa, the sky is so pretty. It always is, but like, I often forget. Okay, what's next? The roof. We need iron nails. Okay. We also probably want a well, which will also need nails and some ingots. A mill. I don't know that we need a mill. I don't know. Whatever. We need a roof. Either way. We have enough logs, but we need nails. I don't know that I can make nails. Yeah, no. Ah! That's right, I have two companions at the moment, because I have a housecarl. Also, how many logs did I buy? Oh, 95. Wait. Wasn't that exactly how much the roof needed? No, it just needs one. I just have 95. I understand. Actually, hold on. How do I access my follower order thing? I'll wait. Wasn't a friend from my group, but there was once a kid in our grade we looked at and unanimously agreed, yeah, he's going to jail and getting on a list without a doubt. Lo and behold, 6 months after we graduated, he was in jail and on the list. Yeah. Yeah, that'll happen. I might be nose blind to bad shit. You and me both, girl. Okay, now while ads are going, everyone look away from my poor decisions. I'm just kind of burning the shit out of this. This fire is perhaps too hot. I'm also bad at things, which doesn't help. I mean, you can mod check, it's just the answer's there. The answer's there, isn't it? There. There's the mod. I keep wanting to be like, okay, I'm done now and everything's fine. And then... and then it's not, and it's not. I'm... therefore I am. Guys, have I ever mentioned that I'm a little bitch? Just in case anyone was wondering, or was confused, or needed reminding. This is a true fact about me. Damn. my guy just kind of, my model just kind of fucking stares into nothing. Can I make it stop doing that? Oh. That kind of worked. Wow, look at that. Well, yes, but continue? Well, you see... I'm a little bitch. Ah! I have a thing to see in the dark, don't I? I don't have it equipped, because of course I don't. This is gonna be fun to play in this state. Oh! There she is. Now I can see. I'm so hungry and thirsty. But I don't think hunger and thirst affect haggling, so I don't care. Ah! Excuse me, good town people. Oh, but I think I'd die if I get too hungry and thirsty, actually. And I don't want to do that. So I'll just get very hungry instead. Time. Ah! Yeah, I think I starved to death. Well, that was a bit dramatic. How about that? Is that good enough? Ah! Oh yes, I forgot about you. I just need the guy. That was sudden. I rewatched, speaking of sudden death, I rewatched the clip of,
I'm sorry, I should really go now.
Okay, Tekla.
Good to see you.
Give me stuff, please.
Take a look.
Thank you. The clip of me dying suddenly in Baldur's Gate and then you losing your shit. That's what I was trying to think of. I'll buy these because I'm sure I'll need them eventually. Sure. Sure.
See you around.
Yeah, see ya. Bye. I love you. Damn, that shit is working very fast. Wow. I forgot what not Eddie does to a motherfucker. This is gonna be a strange stream. But I love you, and I appreciate you. Question, do we switch to the Discord Fugi instead of my occasionally juddering self? Who are you? Oh, you're Vigilance, aren't you? Whoa, what's that? Is that a fucking vampire? Did you guys kill a vampire? Whoa, you guys did great. I'm gonna go ahead and take some of this shit, though. Thank you so much. Hey, guys.
The mercy of Stendar does not extend to Daedra worshippers.
Okay, man, I was just saying good morning. Fuck. Not even a little gay? Well, maybe as a treat. Juddering is a fun word. Juddering is such a fun word. Do you know what I wish? I wish I could play Baldur's Gate with Captain right now. Ah! Who are you? Ah! Who are you? Who are you?
Here you are.
Oh. Hey.
You know where to find me.
I thought I did. But now you're not. Where's all of your shit? I mean, I guess, who am I to judge? Do as you will, Aurelia. Yeah. Yeah. It's true. Rallia's too far away. Rallia straight fucked off. Hey, horse. Do you have food? Oh, a lot more raw human meat. Okay, I guess I won't be worried about using it all. I just feel like I'm gonna die if I don't keep using this stuff. Is this fuck-ass door ready yet? Did Rallia leave? Damn, Rallia really left. Maybe I should have grabbed her while she was... Ooh, wow. A lot of cool stuff. Hold on.
Can I help you?
Do you have
Of course, Sam.
stuff?
How can I be of service?
No, not really. Okay. Just checking.
I'll guard you with my life.
Yeah, the kind of one unfortunate thing about, what the fuck does the drafting table do? Ah, see? Cool. But do I want a main hall? Is the hall too luxurious for us right now? Excuse me. A stable would be nice, because I do be having horses. Wish my Xbox would fucking connect to Twitch again? Yeah, real! What the fuck is up with that? I'm dying. I'm sick. Is my house done? I could go inside. Hey, yippee, yippee, yippee. Look at this empty ass house. But it has a chest. And that is kind of everything I wanted it to have. For all my fucking books! Ooh, wait. wait, no, those are other things. Actually, I want those back. I'm gonna sell those. But these are just books I like. Cool. And then, I don't know, some dust. I'm gonna put one of these in here. Ooh, actually, this I could just use right now. Also, those aren't that heavy. Do I have extra weapons that I want to keep in here? Not really. Woof, you know? You know what I'm saying? I gotta turn those in. Jesus Christ. Ooh, a second workbench. Ah, that's how I make my shit. Can I have my bed? I need straw. Okay, a fire pit needs stone. I can have stone. Stone's easy to get. House full of ass? Hey now. Why are you giving away my future plans so easily? Jesus Christ. What was I doing again? Ah! You go in there. I bet there's straw in there. Oh god. No. Exit. Thank you. Give straw. Yes. Haha. The aesthetic straw bale. It has given me straw where I once had none. This is real speedrunning strats. And I wasn't invited? Well, I never said that. Do I have stone in here? Yeah, I got a bunch of shit in there. Oh my god, I had nails in there. I'm brain dead. I'm fucking brain dead. Captain! My house of ass will have no fire alarms. If we die, we die. Yes, fire. You don't even have to look. Who else? Okay, now our house will be slightly warmer, which is helpful. A bed? Uh-oh. I'm dying. And I don't have any food. Let me just check really quick. Yeah, I'm not sure what's killing me, but you know, I'll just eat stuff. Am I coughing? I should not be coughing. I should be warm.
Foos!
Ah! That's not what I meant. Why don't you have any food? I ate it. I ate it all. Ooh, more straw. More aesthetic straw. Yes. This button. Nope, that's how I get naked. Shit, I'm about to freeze to death. I just wanted water. Dude, yes you can. Alright. Where horse? Horse, come. Everything's totally fine. Don't even start to whoops. Everything's fine. It all looks fine. It all seems fine. And do you know why? Because it is fine. And then we're gonna go in here. I have my own mail. Ooh. Yeah. This is my primary mailbox. I can send a package. I can forfeit stuff. Or remove it. No, don't do that. Mail order? Oh, I don't own catalogs. I see. Let's try and send a single septum somewhere. I don't have any, so I'll just keep it here. No, okay, I'm already here. Got it. Can't mail order, can't send package, check mail. There's nothing there. Oh wait, if I check mail, can I just like shove infinite shit in here? I can. Okay. Fascinating. Ooh, that's not what I meant. Horsecomb? Well, I don't have anything to say about that. And then I'll sleep. Now everything's great. I'm a little hungry, but who cares? Hanging rack for like animals and shit? I don't even know. A corner shelf. Sure. I'm the one who said it? Well, I won't say any more. Goat horns. Wow. Wow. I don't know why I keep saying. Ignore me. Fucking Crash Bandicoot whelp. Okay. I'm just building shit. I'm just building shit because I can. A dresser? Sure, dressers sound great. Dressing is good. An end table? Dresser! Shut up. Silence immediately. It's full of grapes. No, blue mountain flowers. I could fill this with better shit. You... Also, why is my end table so fucking far away from my bed? That seems really impractical. This is the moment where I would start writing fanfiction of a polycule of me, Ralia, and my new house girl, and Raya, and then get too powerfully, distractedly horny to continue playing. But anyway, that's not going to happen here because, you know, that would be a crazy thing to do. God, where's Blue Switch when you need her? There's a dead animal in my garden. Ooh, fertile soil. I can plant a fucking thistle. Sure. It's a little horrifying looking. Okay, good to know. Wait. Oh. Why? Oh, it's all one thing. I understand. Pick up wolf. Put wolf in box. Werewolf. Put wolf in box. Go in box, wolf. An apiary. I love an apiary. I like bees. Ooh, well, well, well. My concern is if I build like Great Hall type shit, it will lose the kind of moth symbolism feeling, and I think I'm gonna stick with that. I think that's a good way to cap certain things. I'm not sure what I'd need a mill for. A mill also seems like kind of extravagant. Grindstone could be useful.
I'm still here. How can I serve you, my Thane?
Actually, I kind of want to take your shit. I'm gonna take one of those. Take both of these. I'm gonna take my ancient text back. All this shit. Excellent.
I will protect you with my life.
Well, I appreciate that. Okay, and then I want to keep my silver sword. I want to keep some staves. Okay. take the dragon eye. I'm just gonna put... Oh yeah, that's right, I put a bunch of things on my horse as well. Two different tents. I guess I'll pack the leather tent because it's becoming winter. Couple rugs. A fuck ton of straw. Ooh, building glass. I do have building glass. Interesting. Okay. I'm shramped. I'm already so shramped. Hi, someone else. Good night, someone else. I looked over just in time to realize they have left. Okay. A lot of organizing happening, which is not the most riveting gameplay in the world. Hey! And I wish I could add to that sentence, but actually I don't know that I can. What? Remove workbench? No. Stop that. We'll do that. Wait, no. Let's save, just in case she drops dead of the fucking pox. Yay! Inventory management! Yippee! Oh, cool. That stuff's right there. Neat. I think Raya is stuck at the fucking door.
I'm still here.
Are you? I need a steward for my house? Sure.
I'd be honored to be your steward. You've built a fine steading here.
Cool. Go home.
I understand.
Cool.
All right then.
Strange. Wait, I thought I would have thing. I thought I could build a shelf because I have glass now. Why can't I build a shelf? Nails again! I used them all up? Is that what happened? Oh my god. I have no idea if I harvest these if they come back, so I will be mostly leaving them alone. Aesthetically, though, I will be leaving... Didn't I have a loot? I'm cold, I need snuggles. Oh my god, you fucking watch your mouth, Druid. Cause you say that shit near me, you're locked in. You're locked in for hours of human warmth. And not even the sexy kind. Just the direct definition. Where am I going with this bit? Am I going anywhere? Important question. We're sharing body heat? Not in the sexy way. In the fun, I'm gonna cuddle you for hours way. I love a cuddle. The blowtorch is so excessive. But really funny. Sorry for the long bouts of silence. In my defense, let's pretend I have a defense. Hey, Raya, you kinda in the way. Do I have any experience in crafting? I thought I put one. I did. Okay, so theoretically I should be able to make nails? Ah! Where are toolkits? There. Oh, no, none of those. Oh, no, that's right, there's a crafting menu. It's in the other shift. Yes. Ooh. Okay, well that's not what I wanted. I wanted... I wanted builders. I wanted... Is it in my horse? I think it's in my horse. Yes. Builder. Yes. Give me iron nails. Give me 100 iron nails. Fuck yeah. I want a smelter, but I only have one iron fitting. How will I fix that? Crafting menu. Give me iron fitting right now. Yeah. I'm feeling weary. Aha! There you are. Ready to smelt. Who the fuck are you? Oh. Sorry, I didn't recognize you. For some weird reason, I don't know. Well, we'll just... Yes, this is what I want. Give me this. Please don't die. Please don't insta-die upon respawn. Gimme! I No food. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Look at this shit. Use dagger rack. Then do it. Oh, I would need to equip a dagger. I see. Well, I have a greatsword. How about that? Where should I put my greatsword? It is really great. I wouldn't want to put it like, I don't know, just like in the cauldron or something. Also, I don't know that I can. No, I cannot. I tried though. If I put it on the chair, it's like quite aesthetic. But, ooh, behind the chair? That works, because then when Raya sits here, it won't completely fuck it up. I think. It'll make lots of noises, which is annoying, but, you know, that's fine. That's cool. Smelter, die. Immediately to the quotes channel with the be gone to the quotes channel. What could I put in my end table? I have like, you know what? We'll put the fucking armor of the old gods in the end table. Why not? No, it goes in the dresser, you fucking idiot. You fucking clown. You fool. The dresser is where you put clothings. Put that. I guess. Okay. Wearing that one? I was wearing a brown one. You fool. Put that away. Ah. Some heavy ass armor. Some cool looking vampire clothes. Man, my phone, she'd be vibrating, and I don't even know where she is. Ah, there you are. Hold on. Let me just double check that it's not anything important. And take a bite of this now slightly old. Taco. Is this now interior decorating hour with Moth? Yes. I don't think I'd have silver. I'll put a cabbage in the cauldron. So a satchel. Oh, this is where I could keep the ingredients I want to keep. That's right, that's right. That's right, I could accidentally over-encumber myself with toes. Have I talked about that yet? Because I can't get rid of any of them, because one of them is a quest item, if I accidentally took so many toes that I was encumbered, I would just never be unencumbered again. That would just be bad. Why does a cabbage in a cauldron sound like a song title? Because you are thinking with your mind. I know, I said it. Guys, this is gonna be the most boring shit that we have ever done in this game together. However, it is what is happening. It's what's for dinner. Can I get them? Can I get these books to stand up like books? Ooh, I'll use this. Yes? Oh, shit. And then they're like, kind of, sort of book-like, you know? Nope, that didn't work at all. I'm gonna stack them slightly haphazardly. That's my new plan. Perfect. Interior design and cuddle puzzles. I'm glad it's cozy. The word I would use is boring. But I'm glad we are saying it's cozy. I do really appreciate that. Ah, kind of cool broken texture things. You will be going in the box. Okay, I know I have some musical instruments somewhere. I know I do. Ooh. There it is. A lute. And then... Question! Yes. Turn on the heaters and burn under blankets. Now I'm super warm, but I still want snuggles. I'm gonna come over there and snuggle you. I don't have a drum! Oh my god, what am I, a fucking barbarian? Where's my loot? We could lay it, like, on top of the fucking... here? Because it won't actually throw it off when I open it. I don't think. And it's, like, kind of cool. It's, like, cute. It's cluttered in a cute way. Yeah? Ooh, there. Old grimoire. Ah! Don't let the ancient evil book fall behind the cupboard. Ooh, I like the idea of it being open. I didn't know it could open. That's kind of sick. Dude, I just want you to be open. Ah, and you've ruined my ancient text pile. My pile of ancient texts. God damn you. How am I with... Sorry, I accidentally scrolled the chat somehow. Rage bait games? Bad. Why? Do you have a desire to torture your good old buddy Moth? your lovely, lovely moth. Ooh, wait, what if I could get it to be like text open along the back behind these books? So there's a way to like, I'm gonna look at the mods. I'm gonna look at the mods. I know. I know. No one's gonna like this part. Hmm. Oh shit. I can't. What? Yeet everything in the room? I'd kill myself. Okay, so you need the numpad enter key, and new keyboard does not have a numpad. So, back to old reliable it is. Dropping it and hoping it looks good. It's also just possible that the Grimoire can't go up on this shelf at all. I stand fucking corrected. I'm scared to put the loot on this fucking shelf anymore. And yet, I'm doing it, and yet I'm doing it. Why are you doing it? Should the flute even go there? It won't. The flute will go up here. So if you jump up, you're like, oh shit. Look at this fucking sweet roll texture. No! My fucking sweet roll! Guards! Guards! Let me guess. Someone stole your sweet roll. No, man, I dropped it. Pick it up. You fucking pig. I'll sweet your roll. Hell yeah. Sweet my roll. I almost just said something really not ideal for this site or this company. The business would fall. You look like shit no matter how I put you. I'm so mad at you. Trying to hold on to a sweet treat though. Whatever, good enough. Don't even need jewelry for here. The amulets look kind of cool. I could leave some amulets. Agatage and Debella. Those are some pretty necklaces. problem is you can only hold them by the charm, which makes it really difficult to make them, like, charm down, you know, as, like, most display items would want to be. You know what? I've seen worse. Oh, well, okay. Well, there's worse. There it is. It's worse. Ah! I figured it out. You can't actually grab it from different places. I'm so... Ah, I hated that. I hated that. Fuck you. Die. I think this display case is too small to be displaying anything but the one dagger it wants you to display in there. So, hold on. A true VIP is here! We all bow. We all... I can't believe fucking Emery came in and said, "Fuck you, druid!" Ooh, another necklace. But that's not what I'm here for. I need this shitty looking dagger. Because this is insane. Oh, yeah. Here. Put it in there. There, that's all that display case can display. I guess I could fill it with individual gold pieces. Actually, that'd be pretty cool. Because if I drop a few at a time, though, it doesn't work, does it? Where's my fucking septums? These bastards. I also have these rugs, which is oh, they actually worked as rugs. Interesting. Okay, well, I don't know how to pick you up. I think that's just there forever now, and I think two of them got placed over top of each other, but whatever, it looks kind of aesthetic, I like it. Unless there weren't carpets before, I don't remember. Who's fucking me? If I'm lucky. Where? Hey guys. Where's my fucking money? Oh. Wait. I can't drop the coin purse. And if I write septums, it just brings up the coin purse. Uh-oh. I thought I also had a septum thing that I could, like... Ooh, maybe I can't drop septums in here. Maybe that's not allowed. We'll take care of you later. Ooh. The wine I mentioned earlier. Put both of them against the end like this. I like clutter. I'm a big clutter lover. I say, completely incapable of fucking setting this in the place I want it without the positioner that I can't fucking use anymore. I'm about to plug in a different keyboard just so I can use the fucking positioner. Also, the fact that I can't move fast is not helping my attitude. Fucking, I mean, you said Old Bean, and now I can't stop thinking of the Worthy Kids, fucking Star Wars cartoon that they made. Fucking, Yoda, you old coot, you look terrible. Dead I am. I know. I'm fucking still laughing at that dumb shit. Okay, that's fine. How do I make this dagger look lucky in its empty ass case? I guess I could just put jewelry in there. Right? God, that one's really good though. Yeah, fuck that. Yeah, that'll be the plan, I guess. Hey, look at that. Okay, I don't really have any cool food to display. Eventually I will, though. I'm gonna put the pot in, or the bowl in the corner. I don't like the way the loot looks, just like it was. There we are. I think that looks nicer. And then you, I know you're in here. Some cups next to the wine. Ah, shit. C, D, E, F, G. I'm bad at spelling. Ooh, that would have worked a treat if it was on the right shelf. Can I stack them on top of each other? No, not really. Okay, that's fine. Perfect! Did I? Yeah, I did. I put them in here, didn't I? Okay, who wants to try and stack books? I'm not gonna. I'm gonna come do this when I'm bored sometime. And I really want the place to look nice. Okay. And now I will just put the rest of the shit in here. Oop. Whoops. I meant to just put this in there. He works hard. IRL mod rolls are wild? Huh? Huh? My mod might become my IRL supervisor soon? Terrifying. Terrifying. Don't like. The only answer is murder. You have to kill your friend. So sorry. Nothing to be done. Now he deserves it? Yeah. No, that's sweet. just gonna really quick. You won't even notice I'm gone. You won't even notice. How was my miming? Was it good? Was it good miming? I felt it was good miming. Oh, my eyes kind of hurt. So here's my thought. Ralia fucked off. We took too long in one spot. She's an adventurous sort. Maybe we'll run into her again in the story, maybe not. But I'll say, like, we had a bit of a, like, sad, like, oh, I thought we were sticking things out. We would tell each other if shit was, like, going on that we didn't like and wanted to bail on, but I guess that was not the case. Okay. Okay. And then I think she doesn't like Rhea because Rhea is like a guard with like pretty armor and swords. Like, I'm a very cool warrior. I guess she interacted with enough of the people in Falkreath to like be like interested in their old stories and stuff. And bark, 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 bark. You know? You know. You totally get it. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, yeah, I got all that shit. I got that shit on me. Sure? None of this is like the kind of weight that I was hoping it was. Why can't I move? Oh! For some weird reason you didn't count this shit as weight. Oh, T.point weight is like what's actually weighing me down. Maybe. I don't know. No, because of... No, that must be crazy. Type point weight. Type and then weight? Maybe? I don't know, guys. Guys, I'm scared. Oh, shit. Wait, did I fuck something up? I feel like I fucked something up. Why do you weigh 80? Ooh. Uh-oh. I definitely fucked something up. I broke something. Oh no, that's a carcass! Not a skin. I'm like, why? Why? Okay, never mind. So yeah, T-point weight is good. Total weight. Assumedly. Oh, and it moves down as you push it in there. How cool. Okay. Put all that shit in there. Put all that shit in there. Elk, pelt. I don't know why I have wood on me. It's kind of weird. Dragon's blood I don't want. I don't know, guys. I'm getting confused. I'm getting confused. I took all the shit off my horse for some reason. Oh, just shit I didn't want to keep on me. I feel like I should keep repulsion. What the fuck? Or maybe I have a different one on the horse. I'm gonna assume I have a different one on the horse. Okay. a couple shit that we intend to get rid of. Anyway. What the fuck was that? Hey now. Hey now. Noticing. No one's noticing. Guys, I missed a first time chat because I was too fucking hot. I mean, horny? Horny's better. Horny's more morally reprehensible, but less legally reprehensible, which is all I care about. Happy! Fuck. I should have thought of happy. No, no, don't try and defend me now. I fucked it. I fucked it. Horse, come here. I will be putting my things inside you now.
Get out of my house!
What? Me? I ain't done nothing to nobody. Is it because I left my own house? Ah! I did something. Well, who knows what I did. Who could possibly know? That's one of life's mysteries. Is what the fuck just happened there? Why do I still have 300 pounds on me? How is this happening? Ah! What's happening? Do it to me! Give it to me! A 7! Who would script a 7? I accidentally opened a tab and it was very white. It was too white. Anyway. Take my money. Okay. Take the wood, for sure. Okay, that's... Oh! No. That was you. Shit. Take that. Take that. Put that on you. God. Oh, I guess I could... maybe it's all the bear pelts. Maybe it's the thousands of bear pelts. It might be the thousands of bear pelts. I'm gonna go turn in those bear pelts so I can stop carrying them around. 7 minutes in heaven? Why are you trying to limit our beautiful time together? Where is Temba? That harlot. She owes me money. I have so many bears. I have so many pelts of bears. I have no idea where Temba lives. Kind of seems like maybe she's imaginary. Oh, is it because I don't have all 10 on me? Is that why? Why don't I have 10 bear pelts? I swear I have 10 bear pelts. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Do some of these not count? Oh, the fine ones don't count. Yes. Yes, do that. Sick. I didn't know I could do that. He didn't say minutes. I'm confident that's all you'd last? Just because he's right doesn't mean he should say it. No, southish. More southish. More southeastish. Ceased. Youth. One of those. You know? Hell till you get your 6s and your 7s out of here. You outrageous cutie. Druid, I'm thrilled that you have confidence in me. It's misplaced, but I'm thrilled. So now it's just Moth on her own again. Are there any, not qualifications, implications? Complications might be the root of all evil, but implications might be the same. Yeah, I'm now in the similar headspace. Still have no idea what the fuck I was talking about. Where am I? Oh. Now I just want to see what's at the top of this. I'm over encumbered. Don't see what's at the top of this. Moth, you fool! There's shit everywhere. Why the fuck is there shit everywhere? I'm actually kind of pissed at whoever hunters laid a bunch of traps on the fucking path. You bastards. Hey Angie, are we chill? Are you gonna try and kill me? Maybe we're chill. You left a bunch of fucking traps on the path. My horse nearly lost her fucking ankle because of you.
Name's Angie. And if you try anything stupid, I won't hesitate to put an arrow in your head.
Okay.
Sorry, a girl can't be too careful out here. Like I said, name's Angie, and I've been living out here for a couple of years now.
I see. What are those targets for?
I set up those targets a long time ago. I shoot at them from time to time. Don't want to get rusty with my bow.
Are you any good with it?
That I am. You know how to use one?
Probably better than you.
Well, let me know if you ever want... If you need a bow, there's one on the rack to the
Oh, I
left
thought
of the
that
door.
would lead to like a contest quest of some kind.
Excellent. Follow me to the targets and we'll begin.
Ooh, are you teaching me how to use the thing?
My father was rarely home, so it was my mother who actually taught me how to use a bow.
Cool. Oh, it is a little quest thing.
She always said composure was the key to a successful archer. If you can remain calm, even in the midst of chaos, your arrow will most likely find its target.
Okay.
Okay, let's see what you can do. Remember to stay within the boundaries and only use the practice arrows. I have some if you don't have any. Aim for the middle target. Stay within the boundaries and only use the practice arrow. Nice shot, right on target. Now
Yay.
hit the target to the left.
Okay.
Great shot. Now hit the target to the right. Nice shot, right on target.
Cool.
Let me know if you want to practice some more. Next time we'll make it a little more challenging.
Oh, awesome. Leave you your bow. That was kind of fun. Need to start winding down for bed? What the fuck? And I'm not even ready to cuddle. Okay, that was a fun side quest. Now to move back to what the fuck we were doing, which is the blue arrow. I mean, yeah, but, you know, I haven't finished stalking you, so I can cuddle your dumb little face. Stalking's a lot of work in today's day and age. People think it's oh so easy because of the internet. What the fuck just happened? Oh, I got flashbanged. At least I'm getting banged. Fuck. Hello? Is anybody home? Ooh, this is the place I was told to go to kill a vampire. What a concerning thing to be told to come do. Wait, isn't this a quest for Falkreath's Thane? Because actually I don't give a fuck about that. Yeah, this is definitely a though I don't remember if it was for the Jarl or not. I think it wasn't, actually. You'd like to be flashed and banged? Huh. Well, I can't really help you with that. Energy's low. I think I'm gonna find a movie, turn in for the night. I think that's a great idea. I appreciate you all coming by. It's a lot of fun with you here. I am glad we could hang out. You fucking dorks. You fucking... Okay, put all these fucking bear pelts in there. Okay, we are finally not over encumbered. Invisibility would normally be what I do, but I think I'm actually not sure if vampires automatically see through invisibility. I think they might. Good night, Druid. Good night, Captain. Miss you already. I actually don't think it's a bad idea to sleep, because then I would be more comfortable streaming tomorrow, because I would not be fucking exhausted. That's what I was looking for. I'm like, what the fuck am I looking for? More of the human flesh that lets me do the thing. Where the fuck is my horse? There you are. Jesus. Okay. What was I fucking looking for? Oh my god. Flesh! Oh, I ate it all. I literally ate it all. Okay, well, we will make do without it. We'll do some cannot see shit.
Is someone there?
Uh-oh.
Where are you?
Ow. Oh, fuck. Shit. Very bad. Very, very bad.
Good enough.
God. That's extremely bad that I don't have human flesh. I forgot that I actually have to reload it myself. Okay.
Is someone there?
Anybody there?
Uh-oh.
Good enough.
Jesus Christ. Totally fine. Totally fine and reasonable. Do you know what I mean by that? It's totally fine and reasonable to fuck off. Just at any time, you'd be like, I'm gonna fuck off. It's always a good idea to just bounce. Hit you with the good enough. Right? Kill me if you want, but demean me? What the fuck? Why? What did I do to you? Besides come into your home and try and kill you, that is. Also, hello Vasilibus, hope you're doing well. Hope your week has been okay. Mine has been just survivable, which is fucking fantastic compared to some weeks. Ooh, more shit. More shit to explore. What? The door is covered. That's awesome. In its own weird little way. Oh shit, this is just the... No. I've been here before. I know exactly what's waiting for me down there. A level 100 fucking werewolf. I will have nothing to do with that. Thank you very much. Ooh, what's that? Jesus. Well. Okay. It seemed like she was really high level, but, like, maybe not? Oh, she didn't have any fucking human flesh on her. She is definitely modded in. There's no way. I don't know, something's up with her. To make it so that did not work.
Huh?
Oops. I thought I died for a sec. Holy shit. What the fuck? Huh. Interesting. Whoa, God, that literally jump scared me. I was like, oh, maybe it's just aesthetic, because it didn't go off when I shot something at it. Fuck. Okay, is there any way to fucking... Wait, I have an idea. What if I make this dude scared of me?
No more! I yield! I yield! That's the best you can do?
Okay, I think the kill attacks, I was adding them just for, like, fun aesthetics, but like I feel like they're making the game way easier. Maybe I just hit like a level cap where it, I don't know. I'm gonna turn them off. I forget where they are, so it's gonna take a second of looking, unfortunately. Probably not in sounds, probably not in UI. Fuck. I can't find it. Oh, that's quite bad. Requiem, maybe. Combat. No. Yeah, I guess I don't know how to fix that. Shit. It's not working either. Shoot. Okay, new plan. Take Avis here and chuck him into the thing. Okay, that is not working as well as I would like. How about... Hey! That worked. Don't worry about it. Running out of magic. So could you please find me really quick? Please? If I take a potion, will it? Yeah, it will end it. Ah! Uh-oh. That's very bad. So, they can paralyze you. It's kind of a low chance. But it's very, very bad if they do it. Yeah, like that. Fuck. Even the spiders are acting like I'm just good enough. I think I can take this, though.
That's your bed?
Cool. Excellent. And then eat some flesh. Won't go down there. What the fuck noticed me? Oh. If they're vampires, I'm dead. Okay, okay, we have a chance. If you fuck off, I can just kill this guy all secret-like. Grand turning? Oh. You guys were really scared of your own fucking... creatures. What? Almost died. Forgot that invisibility is not invisible to cast. Oh, also you've noticed your friend is dead, maybe. Nope, guess not. God! That's annoying.
Freshly killed.
Freshly killed. Die. Okay. Kind of looks like you're all alone up here. I don't think you're even one of the people who usually fought me. Damn. I was just trying to get an easy bit of experience from this. This is very weird. This is a very surreal place. Ooh. Didn't even notice you down there. What the fuck? He rose the chicken. That seems dramatic. But what would I know? I'm not the great chicken raiser, necromancer supreme. Not a single person is here. Don't even worry about it. Ha! Oh no. There it is. There's the fucking orb. Do I even take it? Do I even want it? It would be a really good undead killing sword.
A new hand touches the beacon.
Yeah.
Listen, hear me and obey.
Okay.
A foul darkness has seeped into my temple. A darkness that you will destroy.
Okay.
Return my beacon to Mount Kilcreath,
What was that?
and I will make you the instrument of
Where
my
are you?
cleansing light.
Okay.
You won't get away. Where are you?
Where am I indeed? What a question. Oh! You were carrying a staff of mage light, girl. The art of war magic? Sure. Some cool fucking boots. Huh. No, I'm good. That's pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie. But, once again, I'm not a heavy armor person. But I'm taking it anyway. Because I think I'm done with this place, right? That looks like an exit. Nope, that's not an exit. I'm going crazy. Ooh. Speaking of... Okay, Mom, I'll throw out the garbage. Fine, I'll go destroy the undead, whatever. I mean, I don't even care. Scroll of Blizzard? Whoa. A free Frosty. Or no, Blizzard is something else. I don't know. Ice cream, yippee! I have nothing else for this joke. Potentially nothing else exists.
What was that?
Oh! Sorry, super didn't realize I was,
I'll try and make this quick.
Wow! Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Did I save after the thing? I think I didn't. I think I did not. Nope. Nope. Sure didn't. Shit. Uh-oh. I fucked up again. No!
I'll see you burn.
Wow, that's not working. Maybe it doesn't work when they're actively in a fight with me, but then that's kind of useless. I don't know. New idea. Light you on fire. Ah.
I'll see you burn.
Ah. How are you fucking off? Almost died. Excellent.
Who's there?
Okay. Staff. Meat. Stuff. You. I should have figured it. Okay. There will be more chances. Putting that away.
Is someone there?
Oh my god. Okay. Do a quick save while no enemies are looking at me. Damn, I didn't even need invisibility there. Okay. Some dead spiders. Some dead wizards. Ow. That did not count as a sneak attack. Okay. Okay, I guess we're just gonna use up silver arrows. Or bolts, rather. This is rather tedious. Oh, that counted as a sneak attack for some fucking reason. Alright. Yeah, I'll take it. God, you are quick. There you are. We love coming full circle. Okay. Actually, unfortunately, I am also getting a fleet event. I know it is Friday, but ideally I will feel more able to stream tomorrow. Because maybe I'll be able to get up a little earlier and clean a bit. Because I do have to unpack some tomorrow. Feed me Taco Bell, Mama Bird? No. Not because it's gross, which, let me be clear, it is. But because it's mine. Guess whose model stopped working? Now I get to talk like this. Which is totally normal. Let's see whose stream is going on. I saved, I did, I promise. All right, damn. Sorry. Hey, hey, bitch. Hey, you bastard. You are currently streaming. No. No. Quick, before he notices. I'm pretty sure my viewer base consists of people who are streaming. You fucking lovely bastards. Here. No, you can't help me shit. No, you can't help me with shit. One of my mods can help me because I can't spell. Hey, die. Hey, Vapor. Hey, Vapor. Die. How about that? That's my offer. Hey guys, have a great weekend. Bye.